So you guys just thought I was going to talk about every other Nintendo console except the one that's probably the most important released in the last like 7 years. And I can't believe you guys actually thought that, man, but we're going to take a look at the Nintendo Wii U and see how this thing holds up in 2019. And I want to say one thing. I used to call these type of videos a double I SWI, but now I just want to switch it down to a SWI, alright? A still worth it video. I don't want to do it. Is it still worth it? I just feel like doing a SWI is so much better. It rolls off the tongue than a double I SWI. So I do apologize if you guys have a problem with that. Talk to my publicist, talk to my agent, talk to my parents, talk to your mom and dad. But from now on, I'm going to call it a SWI. So, and I did a video of this console almost a year ago. It's probably like 8-9 months ago. And I had a lot to say about it, and I still do. And of course, we've seen the Nintendo Switch. We've seen a lot of other things come out since then. But I still think that a lot of people have their eyes on the Nintendo Wii U. So kind of a little bit of background. This thing came out in 2012, and it was pretty much the successor to the original Nintendo Wii, which was a humongous success for Nintendo. I had a Nintendo Wii when I was like growing up a little bit. I didn't get it like right when it released, but I got it later on, and I've already done a video on that too. And at the time, this was pretty much competing with the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, even though this was totally a different console. I mean, I've always said this and I believe it. I feel like the Xbox and PS4, all those ones, they have very, very great graphics and tons of features within them, but I feel like Nintendo games, they just did a lot better job at developing stories within their games. I'm not saying PS4 games or Xbox games don't have stories, but I feel like Nintendo games just kind of offer that a little bit better. But with the Nintendo Wii U specifically, I mean, this console was very, very weird from the get-go, dude. It definitely brought some interesting things, but it wasn't super compelling. There was really not a lot of going for it, and it was kind of a flop in a way. And I think that has a lot to do with Nintendo's marketing for this specific console. And it's not just me saying that. Obviously, I've heard a lot of other people around this time who saw it and gave their feedback and everything, and I completely agree with it. I'm just regurgitating in this video. Now, this console was a two-part console, okay? It was a home console. It was not a portable console, but it was a bit portable with the Wii U gamepad. So that was a separate thing. It was the controller, how you control the Wii U. There were optional other controllers that you could use too, but the gamepad was the one thing that really differentiated the main Wii, the original one, to the Wii U. Now, when this thing came out, I honestly thought it was only a portable console because Nintendo, on all their ads, they only showed the gamepad with the screen. So at the time, I was like, okay, so this is like a Nintendo DS, but not really. And I was really, really young at the time when this thing came out in 2012, and I didn't really know too much about it, but this was what I was assuming. And I didn't even know there was an actual console that you plugged into the TV, and I blame that again on mostly Nintendo's marketing for this thing. They did a really bad job on it. Now, looking at the gamepad itself, it has a 6.2-inch resistive touchscreen. It's not even capacitive, it's resistive. It has two joysticks on the front. It has a D-pad and all the functions that a regular Wii U controller would have. But compared to a standard controller, it's definitely awesome. I really like how the gamepad, it has that screen, and you have a lot more functionality from that one specific gamepad and controller than you would of something like a PlayStation 4 controller or like the original Nintendo Wii controller. And the gamepad feels cheaper than like a Nintendo DS Lite or a 3DS, which is so weird too. But I do have to remember this thing came out in 2012, but the DS Lite came out way before that, and that felt way more premium than this thing, but who knows, honestly. I feel like the biggest disappointment was in fact that this wasn't a portable console. I mean, you couldn't take it on road trips with you, or you couldn't even bring it to places. It just always had to be near a Wii U console, which was really lame, honestly. And maybe that's why a lot of people ended up not buying it. And I think a lot of people just thought that the Wii U gamepad was just almost like an accessory to the original Wii, like it wasn't like a different console. It was just, if you have a Wii, you can play the same exact games as a Wii U, and I guess that's why people didn't buy it. But that's a ton of background. Let's go ahead and see how it compares today. I think you guys are up to speed now, and the actual console, the Wii U, the one you plug into the TV, is bigger than the original Wii. This was the first console to output HD video, so it does have an HDMI in the back, which is awesome. It does have a ton of other ports as well, and I really think that's where the interest of the actual console, the plug-in console, dies at, because I mean, other than that, it's just a game console at the end of the day. It's definitely bulky and everything, but the gamepad is where a lot of the attention was. And like I said, it does feel cheap. It doesn't feel premium like the Switch. It just has so much plastic and wobbly parts in it, and I understand it's older, but still, dude, they could have done a way better job. It's super bulky. The concept is interesting, but I'm just not a huge fan of the Wii interface. I find it super weird in my opinion. It was updated for the Nintendo Wii U, but again, just like so many other parts of this video, Nintendo could have done just a better job on it. So overall, the hardware in 2019 is probably like a 5 out of 10 for me, but that's really where the negativity ends. I feel like I had to get the negative stuff out of the way first. I think every other part of this console is very, very cool, and I have so much love for it, and it might have seemed like I hate it, but I really don't. the main thing I always hit on with almost every single Nintendo console is the gaming selection, and that's something that not a lot of consoles have. You would be surprised. You would think like Game Boy Advance and all these other consoles, the DS Lite, the 3DS, all these consoles have so many options in gaming, and they do, but I think a lot of the best parts come from backwards compatibility. You know, we saw this with the original PlayStation 3, how it was able to play PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 games, but once they took that out, a lot of people were complaining the same thing with the Game Boy Advance slot on the DSi when they took that out, and the same thing happened here, except they didn't take anything out. They added the backwards compatibility for the original Nintendo Wii. So not only do you have the Wii U games that you can play, and I'll get into that in a second, but you also have all those Nintendo Wii games that you can play too, which just enhances the library like crazy. Now, like I stated, the game selection for this thing is the best part about this thing single-handedly, and probably why you should pick one of these things up in 2019. Now, there were tons of Wii games that came out even as recent as 2017. I think the Zelda game, that the most recent one for the Wii U, that one came out in 2017. And besides the Wii games and all that, man, like the game quality isn't even that bad at all even, dude. Like, of course the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One games are better, but like I said, I feel like the Nintendo games have a better storyline for their games. Not every single one, obviously, but for a majority of them. And even though this was a competitor, it wasn't really a competitor at the same time, like I stated. And I think the Wii U game selection was pretty good, dude. It didn't get too much love. You had so many Super Smash games. You had so many different games for this thing, and it's kind of weird how Nintendo just kind of backfired itself in terms of marketing. In terms of playing the games, of course you can play them on the gamepad or with the controller connected to the Wii U console, but when you're playing them with the gamepad, it's just, I don't know, the gamepad is super pixelated. It's not that high quality, the screen itself, and it's super reflective, but I mean, compared to the Switch's screen, it's not a lot less quality in my opinion, which is kind of a jab at the Nintendo Switch. I'm hoping with the next version of the Nintendo Switch they do a better job at that. And playing a game on the gamepad isn't bad. It's not a bad experience. Because it is a little bit old, the buttons are a little bit wobbly. It does have a lot of bezel on it too, which might make it a little bit harder to look at. It's not really that portable. And the funny thing is, the buttons are actually almost the same size as like Nintendo 3DS buttons on it. So they didn't even really like expand it that much. I feel like they're super small for how big the console is. But you know what? If you're willing to suck that up, actually playing the games is not a bad experience at all, especially when you consider how great of a library the Nintendo Wii U has. Now, looking back, I feel like back in 2012, Wii U had so much potential, you know, but the problem was the marketing. Nintendo just backfired itself, but that was back in 2012. Now in 2019, the Wii U library is pretty much done. I don't think they're going to make any more games for this thing. And because it is so much cheaper now than it was before, you could probably pick one up for around like $70. I would consider this not a bad option at all. You know, I feel like a lot of people, they might say, oh my God, the Wii U is so bad. It was horrible, this or that. It really wasn't bad. And I'm telling you right now, like I've owned every single Nintendo console almost. I own a PS4, I own an Xbox One S, I own a PlayStation 3. Like the Wii U is definitely not the worst console I've ever owned in my life. I think the marketing was bad and that made people's perception of it bad. But when you consider, you know, Super Mario and all these different things you can play on this thing, dude, if you're willing to suck up the somewhat semi-bad quality of the gamepad, it's a really good pickup in 2019. There's not a lot of options you have out there where it's almost like a 2-in-1. Yes, you can't bring it with you, you know, to road trips or anything, but you can bring it like upstairs to your bedroom. Maybe if the NFC signal can reach, you can sit on the couch and play with it there. You can go into a different room, and I think it definitely does have a place. You know, the Nintendo Switch is not backwards compatible with Wii U or Wii games, but the Wii U is compatible with Wii U games and Nintendo Wii games. So instead of buying like a Nintendo Wii or something, I would just say, dude, pick up a Nintendo Wii U. Of course, if it was between a Switch or a Wii U, I would definitely pick up a Switch 100%. But ultimately, yes, Nintendo did do some stupid things, but as it stands right now, because the depreciation hit, because this thing's game library is just super cheap now as well, you can pick up games for this thing not that expensive. I ultimately think that this console brings what's important. It brings somewhat portability, not really. It brings a great game selection. It brings a low-cost gaming selection as well. And the one thing you have to keep in mind is that if the Nintendo didn't release the Nintendo Wii U, we probably wouldn't have gotten the Nintendo Switch, or the Nintendo Switch probably wouldn't be as good as it is now. And I think this really set up Nintendo, you know, because like I said, I feel like it's one of the most important gaming consoles of the last like 7 years, and it has a lot to do with the building blocks that Nintendo brought for the next line, which was the Nintendo Switch. So those are just my thoughts on why you should pick up a Nintendo Wii U in 2019. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think it's still worth it? Do you guys think it's not? There's not really a right or wrong answer. There's just an answer. So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. But that is pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it'll mean so much if you guys could hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I would really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.